Three provincial councils have passed motions in favour of amending the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. Today, North Central Provincial Council adopted the motion in favour of amending the 13th Amendment, while two other provincial councils approved similar motions yesterday and the day before.
The motion to amend the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was passed in the North Central Provincial Council today with a majority of 8 votes. 19 votes were cast in favour of the motion while 11 were cast against it. By now we have accomplished a lot of work. Power is not important. What is important is the unification of the country. Yesterday, the Sabaragaon Provincial Council approved a motion aimed at granting more freedom for Parliament to bring forward legislation which deals with matters concerning provincial councils as per the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, and also aimed at preventing the merger of two provinces. The motion was approved with a majority of 17 votes. There are some good clauses under the 13th Amendment to the Constitution as well as certain clauses which are not suitable for our country. If these clauses are removed and this amendment is cleansed, the Provincial Council Act can prove to be useful. There was poison embedded in this amendment and we were forced to consume it. Through these amendments, we will be removing this poison. Similar to July 1987, the political landscape in Sri Lanka is heating up. Medicine is not applied to the necessary places, and when it is finally done right, the patient is on the deathbed. Honourable Chairman, you cannot escape this by merely attempting to bring forward a constitutional amendment. The Sri Lanka Muslim Congress has announced that it has cancelled the party membership of two SLMC councillors of the Northwestern Provincial Council who voted in favour of amending the 13th Amendment in defiance of the party's policies and stance. Issuing a statement, the SLMC said that thereby the party membership of Kurunegala District Councillor Rizvi Javaharsh and Puttalam District Councillor Abdeen Ehia have been cancelled. Meanwhile, many national newspapers reported today that the parliamentary team of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party engaged in an extensive discussion presided by the President on the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment was also the topic of the editorial of today's Daily News newspaper, published by the Lake House. The editorial, highlighting Indian writers, notes that India has failed to establish democracy and good governance in Kashmir, even though they hope to achieve the same goals in Sri Lanka through the 13th Amendment. Quoting attorney at law S.L. Gunasekara, the editors note that the Indo-Sri Lankan Accord, which was the base for the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, is no longer active. Meanwhile, Senior Deputy Chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva, explained his party's stance in Kandy today. As public representatives elected to Parliament, we granted the opportunity for everyone to express their views freely on what amendments need to be made, and we reached a decision. That is why we formed this Parliamentary Select Committee. Minister Vimal Veeravansa, leader of the National Freedom Front, a constituent party of the government's, speaking on the press release program telecast on Sirius TV this morning, shared these views on the SLFP parliamentarians meeting held yesterday. The SLFP was against the Indo-Sri Lanka Accord when it was signed in 1987. Thereby, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has taken a stance that these separatist powers in the 13th Amendment to the Constitution should be amended. Therefore, it is clear that the government is engaging in a positive effort to take steps to amend these separatist powers. Whatever forces attempt to oppose this, we see that the government is ready to fulfill the needs of the nation. Meanwhile, Senior Minister Professor Tissa Vitarana, who is the leader of the Lanka Samasamaj Party, another constituent party of the government, speaking on the press release program telecast on Sirius TV today, shared these thoughts on not being appointed to the Parliamentary Select Committee. Various nationalist factions are attempting to amend the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. Was your party overlooked on purpose or by accident? I don't think this was by accident. I believe that this decision was taken intentionally.
මේ 13 පිළිබඳව ඔබතුමා
Do you think you were overlooked because of your party's stance on the 13th Amendment?
කෙනෙහිලි කිරීම සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා කියලාද?
We believe so. There is no other reason. Meanwhile, the Mahajan Eksat Peramuna, which is also a member of the ruling coalition, shared its views on this topic. We cannot cling on to agendas and get this done. The 13th Amendment has caused harm to our constitution. The Mahajan Eksat Peramuna will support the effort to rectify this damage.
Incidentally, views continue to be expressed on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
ඉඩම් බලතල පොලිස් බලතල මේ කියන පළාත් සභාවත් සමග තියාගෙන හිටියොත් අපි කවදා හරි මැරලා ගියාට පස්සේ හෝ මේ රටේ වෙන්වීමක්
If we allow land powers and police powers to remain in the hands of provincial councils, someday there's a possibility that a province or area might attempt to separate from the country. As the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, we are of the view that police powers and land powers should remain with the central government. Government agents should be granted greater powers. Powers should be devolved to the Jana Sabha and Gam Sabhas.
දිසාපතිවරු මීට ශක්තිමත් කරන්න ඕනේ බලේ දිසාවට දෙන්න ඕනේ දිසාවෙන් ප්‍රාදේශීයට දෙන්න ඕනේ ප්‍රාදේශයෙන් ගම් සභාවට ජන සභාවලට දෙන්න ඕනේ අපිට පුළුවන් ආයත් මේක බන්දේසික දාලා දෙන්න ඒකනේ ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ නැත්නම් 13 නේ ඊට වඩා හරි දෙන්න බැරියයි
If there are no problems, we can grant 13 or even more. I should be saying grant police powers and land powers because my brother is the chief minister of the North Central Province. Then even I will be able to use a bit of it. Even my brother said that it is unnecessary. When we inquire from the farmers in Jaffna, this is not what they want. They ask for their reservoirs to be rebuilt and money for their irrigation schemes. They never ask for police powers. What can they do with police powers?
දහතුන වෙනුවට ආණ්ඩුව මෙතෙක් විසඳුම් ලබා නුදුණු
Alternative to the 13th Amendment. However, there are 13 problems faced by the people. It has been 4 years since the end of the war. However, the people have not received proper answers. Do they want to devolve power within the government? Both factions that want to hold on to power and devolve power do not speak about these 13 issues. The Tamil leaders do not speak about these issues. All they speak about is police powers and land powers.
ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ ඒ පොලිස් බලතල ඉඩම් බලතල ඉල්ලන්නේ ඒ ජනතාව මුහුණ දෙන 13ක් ප්‍රශ්න විසඳන්න නෙමෙයි. ඒ බලතල පාවිච්චි කරලා නැවත ඒ ජනතාව පාලනය කරන්න.
The 13th Amendment to the Constitution was introduced based on the 1987 Indo-Lanka Accord. The agreement was based on two key points: India taking steps to bring the armed forces in the north to the democratic stream, and Sri Lanka taking steps to provide a political solution to the people of the north and east. The political solution gave birth to the provincial councils, and India had a significant say in this decision. According to the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, the subjects which fall under the provincial councils and the central government are clearly defined. A part of the police and land powers also falls under the purview of the provincial councils. The debate on whether the powers granted to the provincial councils are sufficient or not is one that has been going on for the past 26 years.
Now, time now for the newspaper cartoon of the day. Welcome back to News First. This evening I have a special guest in the studio. That is the leader of the Lanka Samaj Party, Professor Tisavitharana, who is also a senior minister of the cabinet. Starting off, Minister, tell me, what is the position of the Lanka Samaj Party in respect of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution?
Well, we strongly support the 13th Amendment. We accept that there are changes necessary, but that these changes should be effected only after discussion at meetings at which all the parties are represented. So we think that now that there is a select committee of parliament to meet, that any changes to the 13th Amendment should be brought up for discussion there, not in isolation, but as a part of the process of trying to build national unity as one Sri Lankan nation by solving the national question.
Your party is not even included in the Parliamentary Select Committee. Have you been able to raise the issue up with the government ministers, those in government ranks?
Well, in the sense that we have inquired as to why we have not been included, but there's been no clear answer on this question. We are really in the process of our Politburo meets tomorrow, and once we discuss there, we will probably send something in writing.
Minister, your party has been in the government for the last 8 years, and the 13th Amendment of the Constitution has not been implemented during these 8 years in question as well, fully implemented. What has your party done in respect of this?
No, you see, the 13th Amendment, various sections of it are being implemented. There are sections which, say, even if you take police powers or land powers, which I would think need adjustment.
So you believe that there should be some sort of adjustment to the 13th Amendment of the Constitution?
Certainly, there have to be, because you see, the 13th Amendment was rather hurriedly put together in 1987 and as part of the Indo-Sri Lanka Accord. And I think the effort was basically to try to make use of the Indian model to work out a suitable arrangement in Sri Lanka. But I think due thought has not been given to all the issues.
However, you just told me before, Minister, that you want the 13th Amendment to be strengthened further.
Yeah.
So what about land and police powers, which is a center of attention as far as the 13th Amendment to the Constitution is concerned? So you want that to be strengthened further, or do you want some sort of powers taken away in terms of land and police powers?
No. For instance, you raised police powers. When I was chairman of the All-Party Representatives Committee, I brought up this issue for discussion, and we ultimately all agreed that in the 13th Amendment there is provision for setting up a police commission in each and every one of the provinces. Now that would lead to all sorts of problems, because the recruitment, promotions, transfers, disciplinary action could vary from province to province. And now there is a arrangement where up to ASP level recruitments will be taking place in the province itself, and thereafter they go into the national service. So if you have people recruited on different criteria and different basis, when the time for absorption into a common service comes up, it will lead to...
Miss, I just want to interrupt you for a second there. Now, this is not the first time that your party has